serious piece of hardware, boys. All the go. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining us again. So as you see, we finally got our carburetor for our small block stroker build that we got coming. If you're following along with that build and you didn't see the end of last video, I did mention that we did get our ARP hardware, our engine girdle. We're not going with the 4-bolt main caps anymore, but the machine shop has all that, so we should see that short block soon. In the meantime, we can focus on a little more top end. This is that Victor intake that I did do that port job on, and sitting on top of it is our brand new carburetor. This is a Holley 950 Ultra XP in hardcore gray. Really like the look of this carburetor out of the box. It's got all kinds of features that much different than a standard double pumper that I've been running, and I'm sure a lot of you guys run too. So we'll talk about some of those features in this video. We'll take a close, in-depth look at it. You see this carburetor all over the internet. It's hard to get a grasp of everything what it looks like in real life because all the shots are away. If you look on Holley's website, it actually appears more black, but it is gray in color. It is called hardcore gray. But you see this carburetor on Engine Master series all the time, one of my favorite shows. So we'll take a look at some of the features, some of the things that you'll need to buy to match this carburetor to your intake and your fuel system as well. So let's get into it. Let's take a deep dive on it. Do a little buzz around here so you guys get a good look at that anodizing. It is gray in color, gray and black. It's quite nice. Okay, so the first thing we'll take a look at are the float bowls themselves. So you'll notice that they are 20% larger than a standard double pumper float bowl, which means 20% more gas, much better for wide open throttle on the drag strip, less chance of fuel starvation. You can note that they are actually physically bigger than, say, a standard double pumper. That's my standard 750 double pumper. Another feature you'll notice on those bowls are the clear sights for your float level. That's a nice feature because we used to have to pull these guys, get gas everywhere, and make a bit of a mess. Here you can see your float level in real time, which is a nice feature. Another nice feature is both float bowls have a drain in the front of them now, which is really nice, again, for keeping things nice and neat. We used to have to pull a lower bolt, drain the gas there. Now you have an actual drain. So that's a nice feature too. Noting that the fact that those float bowls are larger, the carburetor is larger overall. And so the inlet spacing is different than, again, your standard double pumper. So if you're planning on just taking this line off, putting it on this one, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna reach. And also the inlet fittings into the bowls themselves are different. These fittings here do come with it. And on the inside there are what's called a -8 O-ring fitting. So it comes with these guys. They're -8 to -6. So you can make up your own fuel line, or you can buy a new line specific to this Holley Ultra carburetor. It's also good to mention that these are called race only because they have no vacuum ports at all. So standard Holley, you got a vacuum port right there for your PCV. And then a bunch of other garbage vacuum stuff down there that you all plug off. Don't need any of that. No time spark either, so this is race specific. You cannot run vacuum advanced distributor with this carburetor. Okay, so let's get over top of this thing. So you see that contoured main body, no choke horn, no choke capabilities. This is just like an HP unit. That's a nice contoured main body. Looking over top, you can see your high-speed air bleeds and your idle air bleeds there. That's some nice tunability to really hone in your AFR. You'd want to use a wideband O2 if you're going to start playing around with those guys. That is a nice feature. Those come on different Holley carburetors. My standard 4150 does not have them. They're pressed in. Those cannot be changed, so that's a nice upgrade there. Looking at the boosters now, these are called a double down leg booster. They're specific to the 950 and 850. It looks like they travel further down into the body of the carburetor, and the orifices might be larger than a standard down leg booster. So then that's a nice upgrade right there. Our vent tubes are taller in profile, so less chance of fuel spillage. And then you can start looking at your nozzle squirters. They come with the hollow pin in them, which is a nice feature to ensure that you get a full squirt when you get to size like 35 nozzle, which most guys end up running. Now, one of the really interesting features about this, now you guys with big camshafts are gonna love this. There's actually an idle air adjustment inside here. There you go, you can see it. So that will open up and allow air to pass through the carburetor. So back in the day, guys would drill holes in those throttle blades if they had a really large duration camshaft and were having problems getting the idle set where they want. Now, Holley gives you a carb screwdriver to go in there, and you can adjust it there, which is super cool. Really nice feature on that, and that is separate than your standard idle adjustment, which is over here. So looking at that idle adjustment, you can see that it is actually gnarled, so you can twist it by hand, which is a nice feature. And if we go to the other side, the secondaries is also there as well. So you get a lot of idle adjustment out of this. Now, Holley says you shouldn't touch that, and you should actually do the adjustment here to start with. They say that it's set from factory to ensure a proper throttle blade to transfer slot relationship. So they do say start here, and then maybe that guy's just for fine tuning. Now looking at the linkage itself, you'll notice this guy on the back here, you can actually set this carburetor up to 1-to-1, which is a really nice feature. Normally you have to tip in about 30% on your primaries before your secondaries. You move this guy down, lock them together, you get full action all the time, which is a pretty nice feature. Great for drag racing. Again, you can see more of the black anodizing here, which is really nice. This guy is a little bit different than a standard unit in the return spring area is a little bit smaller, so I did buy a return spring kit. That isn't quite going to work. I'm going to have to figure something out. Looking at those idle mixture screws, they look similar to previous models, but they are flush on the outside of the main metering plate body there. And the secondary metering plate body. And I don't see any cork inside, which is a nice feature because the cork was prone to failing. So inside the standard one, it goes all the way in, and then there's cork in there. So these guys run right out flush, and it doesn't appear that they use cork, which is, again, a nice feature. So that billet throttle plate has one other nice little feature. It's actually drilled for Dominator flange as well. So chances are, if you're watching my channel, you're running a standard intake that's a 4150 flange, just like this one is here. But if you are running a big intake and it takes a Dominator style carburetor, this will bolt up as well. So you don't have to run the Dominator. You could actually run this guy too. Okay, so we kind of checked around some outside of the features. Let's crack open that rear float bowl and take a look inside there. Okay, so inside our new float bowls, you'll see that it is a plastic unit, no longer the soldered brass units that were prone to failing. And you can see that it does have provisions for jet extensions, which Holley gives you with this carburetor, which is absolutely awesome. So it comes with jet extensions. It also comes with this screwdriver here, which is used for the tuning of that idle air leak system that I was talking about earlier. And then looking in the back, you can see those billet aluminum metering blocks. Really nice. You compare that to a standard metering block, and it's next level. It's really nice stuff. So let's crack that guy off now and take a look at it. Oh, you'll also notice this. There's a secondary power valve. So not just one in the front, you have one in the rear on this unit again. So again, more adjustability and the ability to keep your jetting square on this whole thing, so you don't have that stagger of 6 to 8 differences, jet sizes between primary and secondary. They'll all be relatively close. Dyno will tell, but that's a really nice feature. Really nice stuff. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. I just pulled this guy off for the first time, and those are the emulsion bleeds. Now, those are interchangeable in this, which is a nice feature, but look at the debris inside. It's full of brass. So that's pretty alarming. I'm glad I took this off before we ran gas through it, because who knows what would have happened. Brass is pretty soft. It probably would have melted inside the engine, but still, you don't want to send that through anything. That's kind of alarming to see on a $1,000 carburetor, that they're going to leave that in there. Well, anyway, so those are the emulsion areas. Those are all interchangeable. Again, there's that power valve. Nice metering plate, but that's upsetting to see. So yeah, that's upsetting to see. Like, I'm gonna have to go through this carb and take the front off as well, and just make sure and clean this all out. That's pretty shocking, actually. Holley, that's kind of disappointing. The rest of it looks all right, like a little bit of debris from where I just took it apart, but I'm definitely gonna have to pull that front apart and take a look at that too. Okay, we got that guy all cleaned up now. That was upsetting to see though. I'm glad I took it apart. I'm definitely taking that front apart and cleaning it all out. But here you can see your idle feed restrictors and those emulsion bleeds. And if we pull out this 4-5 power valve here, you'll see that there is actually bleeds in there that are all adjustable. Now, I haven't played with any of this stuff myself. I'll probably talk to my buddy Andy over at Unity Motorsports Garage. He's got a great channel, and he actually did all this stuff to his carburetors before they were options like they are now. So a ton of tunability in there. And this is a nice part once you get all the gunk cleared out of it. Might have to talk to Holley about that. Okay, well, let's pull the front off and take a look, make sure it's all good too. This side not nearly as bad, but still a few little chunks. You can see it's wet from where they actually flow test them, or I guess wet test them before they send them out. So I'm gonna clean this one up too. So in conclusion, I do really like this carburetor. It has a ton of features, a ton of more tunability that I didn't have in my old carburetor, and it does look phenomenal. Having said that, seeing that stuff in those metering blocks was a bit upsetting. So I do like this carburetor, but I will say take it apart before you run it, because you might find some stuff in there that you might not like. Now, this thing about Holley's quality has been coming up lately. Jed over on Scott's Speed Shop just did a thing about a pair of 850s, I think he got, HP units, that he was not happy with the finish on them. When I got this, I did look at it, and there is some nicking and marring on a few of the anodized bolt heads or whatnot from assembly. There was a couple weird things with the assembly itself. The rear inlet fuel fitting was super tight, the front was loose, just kind of random stuff. Nothing that I was too upset about. Anodizing to keep perfect is quite hard. We do it at my work, so I am aware of that. Overall, this is a really nice carburetor. I am stoked to get it onto the dyno with my small block, which is on its way, so do stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.